Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and what I want to do is start to get you to think a little bit more long-term than just session to session. So what we're going to talk about today is developing weekly plans. Now we're going to put an extended version of this on Patreon that's going to go into more of this stuff and why we do it, but hang on tight and let's hope we can get you some different information that's going to make you better selections when you train for the week. So if we're trying to get strong, there's a couple of big things that we're going to need to be doing. One, we need to make sure we have max effort built into our plan. Now max effort can be anywhere from 1 to 5 reps, and it's usually above or at 90%. Now if you study your books on training, especially from Zatsiorsky and Verkhoshansky, you're going to realize that 90% or above creates the greatest gains in strength, but it also creates the greatest neurological stressor. So the reason that you need to get away from your traditional thought process when training is max effort work is insanely taxing. So the big thing you need to understand is the mode needs to change on a fairly consistent basis, which is the exercise. If you use the same exercise for max effort too often, you're going to burn up anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. So you might as well just switch it anyway. But you need to make sure you have some form of max effort in your weekly cycle in order for you to get better. And that even means if you want to get faster. Because the thing of it is, if you want to get faster at sprinting and you only can squat 300 pounds, you're probably leaving a lot on the table versus if you could squat 400 or 500 pounds. Okay, and I know we got body weight and all that other stuff to consider, but think about how many people squat 315 and then want to put all their work out on the track, when in reality they should be squatting a lot more or deadlifting a lot more. Okay, so we need to make sure we have max effort work built into our training programs. The next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need the dynamic effort method. Now this method increases the rate of force. We need rate of force development because if we're trying to get really, really strong, we have what we call like the ability for our motor units to activate. For most people, it activates similar to this. This is time, okay? So as you can see, when we first start to strain on something, the body's like, that's not enough. That's not enough, that's not enough. Oh, okay, now we're starting to move the weight. Good. Well, that time that it took for us to ramp to that, if we were training the dynamic effort method, our body would go to the motor units much faster. So now we're at this strength level much quicker. That's why you train the dynamic effort method. You have to get to those motor units very, very quickly. So a highly advanced training person that's been training max effort and dynamic effort method with optimal amounts is going to get to maximum contractile ability much faster than the average person that doesn't train any kind of dynamic work at all. So the dynamic effort method allows you to get to those deeper motor units faster for increase of rate of force development. So if you don't have the dynamic effort method in your training, this should help you to start think maybe that's not the right idea. Now, for what everybody wants to talk about, the repetition effort method is going to be good for developing hypertrophy and work capacity. Okay, if we're doing lots of reps, we're going to get in better shape. If we're doing the optimal amount of reps and the optimal amount of percentages, we're going to get more muscle mass. So having repetition efforts in your training is super important. Where is this laid out in training? Well, most of the time in your accessory work. So if we're training, say, the squats and the deadlifts, we're going to do, say, 3 sets till failure on hamstring curls. Well, that's going to be an exercise that's going to develop some functional hypertrophy in the hamstring, which represents the dynamic effort method. The point is that in your training in a week, you should be having all 3 of these methods in some way, shape, or form realized, represented, and trained. The reason being is that for all of you guys watching this, including 1,000-pound squatters to 100-pound squatters, one of these is one of your major weaknesses. So I see a lot of strong guys, they don't have work capacity. I see a lot of weak guys, don't train a lot of max effort, and I see a lot of guys that might do bodybuilding style training, don't focus on rate of force development or the dynamic effort method. Sometimes in one of these 3 methods is lying your ability to get better at a faster rate with more efficiency, meaning less training intensity. The problem is that you can only train so intense as long as your body can recover from it. So if one of these areas is your major weak points and it's not being developed in a weekly fashion, you're setting yourself up for long-term failure just because you're missing a key component of your training. So in a weekly cycle, you should have 33% of your thoughts in maximum efforts, 33% of your thoughts in dynamic effort methods, and 33% in the repetition effort methods. Notice that most people are one or the other or none of one. That is a huge problem that we face. So hop on Patreon, we're gonna dive into this deeper and help you understand where you should be doing in your 7-day process.